sell trade, just to show you and to build some confidence that these things work. This is the unrealized P&L this month. About 100 and, what is that? $140 or $1,000. And here's the value of the account. This is the account I could show you. Maybe we can set up some trades. This is the net liquidation value of it. So it's up over 5% this month. Okay? Just to give you an idea that some of these work. Besides that, we'll turn it off and we'll get started. As far as 5% goes, I'm not sure what the monthly start was on that, so it may not be as high as 5%. We'll have to see. I'm not the one that does the bookwork on it, but there's a large unrealized P&L. I just do what's called a contract trader. Contract trader means that I take some of the trades on that account. So that's just more of a confidence building thing. Okay, does anybody have any questions on what we've covered? Any questions? Nothing on what we covered last week? Can everybody hear me? Okay. All right, so no questions on what we covered then. So we'll just jump into do a little review. I wrote up these notes for you. They're a little snazzier than the last ones I did. First off, we started a trading plan for John, like beating John Doe. Swing trade for a living. Let's just review. This is to keep me sane. We covered a little bit of trend direction last week. Is that correct? Okay. And then we moved down to working on some possible trade setups using this bull pullback here. Let's see, let's just change that to bull pullback. Bull pullback, and we had a bear pullback. We had some breakouts and some breakdowns. Okay. Where can you find these notes? I'll upload them to Kelly, and he will probably post them on the Metastock forum. I'm not sure how to get into that forum, but I spoke with him about that today. Okay. So you should be able to get them off the Metastock forum. Okay, let's take Crystal's question. Yeah, you probably got them. I uploaded them to this room, and so you probably got them on your desktop. So you won't have to get them off the Metastock forum. No, it's 1 through 9. 1 through 9. The rank is 1 through 9. 9 is the most preferred. 1 is the least preferred. Well, 0 would be the least preferred. Okay, but a 0 can't pop up in the scan the way it's constructed. Okay. Let's go back through. We had a bull pullback, a bear pullback. We worked on a little Fibonacci number. We had breakouts and breakdowns. I didn't finish developing a breakout or breakdown last week, so I wanted to talk about this. When you trade a breakout, you want to trade something with a high external relative strength. Does anybody know the difference between, there's 3 types of relative strengths: internal, comparative, and external. Who knows the difference between all 3 of them? Anyone? Okay, internal, there's a little article I posted in here about it, and I think I put comparative. It's down here at the bottom. Hope everybody can see my screen. It's got some notes on it. I'm going to page this down. Trying to figure out how to hit page down. There it goes. Okay. I think I put it in here for you. I'm just double checking. If not, I want to make sure I send it to you. Comparative relative strength is the security against the overall market. Internal relative strength is the security. I don't have it in there. I'll cut and paste it in here for you. Is the security against itself. So normal RSI is the security against itself. Comparative relative strength is the security against the overall market. And external RSI is calculated by IBD, Investors Business Daily. There was a plugin they had at Metastock that would calculate it called Spyglass. They no longer sell that. But it took a long time to calculate. It's better if you just take like the IBD 100 list or the CanSlim list or any of those lists, plug them into Metastock and rescan them for the setups you want. Okay? So what you want to do when you do a breakout, a high relative strength means that that stock is performing very well against the whole entire market. So if I was going to look for a breakout trade, I'd click on Metastock. We're just going to review some of this real quick. You click on the field glasses. We click on Breakout. We click Explore. Remove all. Add securities. And I haven't downloaded my data, so I'm going to do these two lists. It's a Gorilla list and it's called the IBD list. And I like scanning both of these for breakouts. Almost all of these stocks exclusively will have a high external relative strength. Oh, here, let me turn down my resolution. I forgot to do that. My monitors are set to pretty high resolution. I'm going to set it to 1024 by 768. Hopefully everybody can handle that. I don't even think my monitors go much lower than that, and it's hard for me to see the screen. Okay. Now, let's go ahead and hit this Explorer button. What it's doing is it's scanning online a list of 168 stocks to see if we can get a breakout. Go ahead, Dick, you had a question. Just keep typing. All right. I'm going to flip back over to the notes while it runs this and kind of review a couple things because I don't want to sit here and just wait for the scan to come up. Okay? So let's pop back over here. Now, let's finish reviewing. One of the things that we talked about, I'm going to go into the new items we're going to cover, breakout and breakdown. We didn't finish developing those. This bull pullback, this was really critical on our trading plan. Does everybody see what I highlighted? On the daily chart, resistance should be expanding or momentum should be increasing or sellers came in later. On the 5-minute chart, support should be compressing or decreasing as momentum or buyers come in sooner. Does that make sense to everyone? To help assist with that, down here I've written in a new section into the notes, and it explains some indicators that are in an indicator pack that I've set up for you. One is called resistance expanding, and I want to talk to you about it, and support compressing. Okay? I'm going to look at the support compressing first. Let's see, this one's support compressing, support contracting. Okay? So I'm going to pull this up and we're going to look at it real quick. We're going to review a little bit of a trade. I'm going to bring back up the Metastock. And we're going to talk about how we know that this was going down on this day. So I'm going to take this back to 411. I'm going to wait for your screen to calm down. And we're going to look at NYX. It's something I traded this week. You guys see that bar? It kind of looks scary, that great big red bar. This has dropped down to a possible support level. But how do you know when you see a big red bar if it's done going down? Anybody know? Any idea how you'd know? Nobody? Well, this is why you need the Metastock real time. First off, you're going to switch to a 5-minute chart. It's going to be on that same date. And there's a little indicator in here. This is an indicator I developed for myself, and it's called a compression of support. All right? And what this compression of support does is while this loads up, it's looking for support to come in soon, I'm going to jump back to my drawing while this chart loads. Okay, can everybody see the drawing? Can you see a Word document? Did it just switch screens, or do I need to turn the camera off and turn it back on? Word doc. Okay, working fine. Okay, so what we're saying, I wanted contracting. Just think of this as the inverse. The inverse would be this. Here, I'll put it down here. I didn't type it into the notes. Okay, Control V. If point A minus B, we would have support compressing. Support compressing. Okay, what this is saying is, who would agree if the distance between A and B was $1 and the distance between B and C was 50 cents? Is that a good thing or a bad thing if you're looking for a reversal? Ernie, would that be a good thing or a bad thing? If the distance between A and B was less or greater than the distance from B to C, it would be a bad thing. We're looking for Cohen. It'd be a good thing if we're looking for exactly. It would be a good thing. We're looking for a compression or a reversal. So if we look at support contracting / compressing, they mean the same thing. On this indicator, if that occurs, that's a really good thing. Now this indicator ranks up to 6, and this is unique to Metastock. This isn't in any other system. It's a unique feature to them. And I use this all the time in my own trading. Okay, I'm just going to type this in here for you, for your notes. Okay, what it means is, I'm going to pop back to the chart so you can actually see this happening. Okay, we should see, you guys see the Metastock right now. Compressing into a reversal, that's right. Everybody see Metastock? Okay, now I'm going to start, and I'm going to take some information off, and according to this indicator, this is going to be really important. This is kind of carrying through with some of the concepts and showing you how to implement. Okay? Let's just start with the major ones. In that indicator, it looks at the last 3 M's. Doesn't matter if there's not an M there. It says the distance between this M and this M and this M. Was it getting narrower? Yes. If it's getting narrower, and there was some major support there, according to this indicator, it'll give it a score of 3. So at this time, you can see the indicator shot right up to 3. All right? That's not the very best time to get that indicator. The closer it gets up towards 6, the better off we are. All right? And when it gets close to 5, there's almost always going to be a short-term reversal. Okay? The closer it gets to 5, well, if it gets 5 or greater, there will be a short-term reversal. I'd say, in my experience, about 90% of the time. I know that sounds high, but we can look at it back on the chart, and I'll show you. Okay? So there's not a lot of data on this one, because it hasn't been around for a while in the way I loaded it. Now let's go to the next part of the indicator. It ranks 3 different pivots. Okay? An intermediate pivot. Now it goes to the last 3 intermediate ones, and it measures them to see, and they have to be the last 3 that have been trending down. They have to have been trending down. If that's the case, it's narrowing again. See, from here to here, there's an intermediate one, there's another one. That would give it a rank of 5 when that occurs. And sure enough, we got a short-term reversal. Shortly after that hit between a 4 and 5, you would get a short-term reversal. See, there's a new one that came in right there. And you get a pop-up. So the closer it gets to 5, the higher the probability of a reversal. Now the last one is for minor pivots. Okay, it looks at the last 3 minor pivots. Matter of fact, I'm going to take some of these off here. Let's just do the lows. Okay, takes the last 3 lows. Look, there's 2 pivots really close to each other. Isn't that kind of a double bottom? That gives the indicator a rank of 1. And the higher that indicator gets, if it gets to 6, it's a perfect reversal. It's going to reverse. All right? Does everybody understand that? it drops, it finds buyers, it drops, it finds buyers. It just ranks that up. This works off of one of our axioms. Okay, one of the things that are a truism in trading. Okay, I'm going to pop this up. So, I'm just reading Dick's question. Yes, that's right. From the right and finishing at the left. Correct. 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 For the 3 pivots. That's correct. Okay, so look at this first axiom. We say that momentum is the distance it travels after resistance fails. A trend is the failure of resistance. So that this is measuring one of our axioms. Momentum. It's measuring. It's saying if we break support and we drop less, isn't that significant to you? Well, there's multiple different types of pivots we can measure. This one just measures 3 at one time. It measures 3 points on 3 types of pivots. In other words, it's kind of looking at a couple different time frames and saying, oh, it dropped. So if I was to scan, it will save the results. If I was to run a scan just to review of a bull pullback, let's see what I got in here. This is old data. Bull pullback on 419. Let's see what I can find. Maybe a high-ranking bull pullback. And we'll look at that and see what everything says. Matter of fact, let's look at the resistance expanding one. Here, I'll do it right now. This will run really fast. I'm going to take a bull pullback with resistance expanding on the daily. I'm going to use the results from the preceding explanation. Now, this is just implementing what we talked about. We're going to go to local data, and mine is not set up there. I have to browse to it. And all I'm going to do is take the optionable stocks, okay? And we're going to scan all the optionable stocks. The last time I updated it, it says 420, but I don't think that's right. I did that this morning. I updated this morning for last night because I had other things going. Okay. This is going to scan through these 2,200 stocks. And Krista, what's this doing? Tell me what it's doing, because we defined this in our notes. Any idea? What do you think it's scanning for, this first one? Yeah. Okay, the first one does this. The first one, while that runs, the first scan is doing this. Okay. The first scan is going to look for, I didn't pre-filter it. These are not included in there, the core rules and personal rules. Okay. It's doing a bull pullback, and it's looking for this stuff. The second scan does this stuff. So right now, all this is looking for a bull pullback, and the second scan is looking for this stuff. If I would have pre-filtered it, it would look for all 3 things. So we're defining this sheet that we're looking for. Okay, so right now it's through 700 of those 2,200. If I would have put a pre-filter in, then the bull pullback, then the resistance expanding, it would look for all 3 setups. Now, it's probably unlikely on Thursday. Am I going to find a bull pullback? What did the market do? Looking for a pullback to a support pivot. That's right. That's exactly right. But it's very unlikely that I'm going to find one on Thursday. How come? What happened to the market on Thursday? How about Bonnie? What do you think the market did, Bonnie, on Thursday? What did the overall market do? Now, I can tell you right now, I won't forget for a long time, or not Thursday, today's Thursday, Wednesday. Sorry, my bad. It ran a lot, yeah. On Wednesday, it ran a lot. Yeah, it ran a lot on Wednesday. It got that, Bernanke said that they may not raise rates anymore. So that's not a good day to run one of these pullbacks. But we'll see what we come up with in it. and we're going to pop up and see if we can find one and implement some of the strategies we're looking at. All right, does anybody have any questions on this little indicator, this little squiggly indicator up here at the top of the screen, and how it works? It's defined in your notes and how it works. But any questions on that? While you're thinking about that, I'm going to bring something up. I'm going to bring up a whole bunch of data. What I'm going to do is I'm going to tell this on the intraday chart. I'm going to send it back almost a year to get some data. It will take a second to load. And then we're going to look at that same indicator, and we're going to see what happens to the market every time that thing gets by a 5. Okay? Here's where it hits a 5. Right there. Do you guys see that? How does it get a point? I don't understand what you mean to get a point. See where this hits a 5? What happens shortly after it? Charles, what happens, or Charlie, what happens shortly after that thing hits a 5? Look at the chart. I showed you for just a second in the notes, the 5 on this indicator basically is an intermediate. Pivots are slowing down and the minor pivots are slowing down. That scores you a 5. Or excuse me, the major ones are slowing down and the minor ones are slowing down. That will give you a 5. So you have a minor slowdown with the pivots and a major slowdown. And then you get a short-term reversal. That's what we're looking for. There was a short-term reversal through this area. Okay, because we're looking at a 5-minute chart. We're not going to get a long-term reversal. We're going to get a short-term reversal. Let's go see if this happens again. Okay. Go back there. Not enough data to calculate some of the pivots I want. It has to be trending down. That's trending up. It had to be in a bull for this indicator to get a value, so I'll pick a different stock. Okay. Let's pop this up and look at it. This is our resistance expanding scan. Here's our rank. This was on Wednesday. We had Merrick, a pharmaceutical. Looks like 2 pharmaceuticals. I'm going to pop both of those up. One's a $12 one. One is a $45 stock. This is one of the unique things with Metastock. It gives you a hammer. Now, let's look at this. Let's look at our resistance points. I'm going to bring something up and show you. Now, I'm going to quiz Dick real quick. Intermediate. Okay. Are we expanding on our resistance points? Okay, we're looking at the last 3. Are we expanding on those? Here's 1. Here's 2. Here's 3. Does that show an increase in momentum for when it pulls back? Yeah, it does. Okay, so now how do we tell? Let's go back to this day. I want to look at 412. I like those days where it drops. Anybody ever want to know how to play a day that just drops? It took me a long time to figure this out. Like, just got pummeled. How do you know when you get a nice pummeled day like that if it's going to work out? This is MERX. Okay. MERX. I'm going to pull it up. I want to pull it up on a 5-minute chart because what do I want to see? On your daily chart, I forgot US. This one, MERX. On the daily chart, we wanted it to expand, but on the 5-minute chart, Krista, what do we want? When it's dropping and we're looking for a pullback, what do we want to see, Krista? I'm going to go back to this day. Oh, this one doesn't have a ton of volume. Let's go back to this day. Go back. 412. Okay. Compression. That's exactly right. We'd like to see a compression of those support ones. So let's just put on just the support ones. All right. I'm going to take off the high ones and just put on the support ones. Okay. Now, if you can't see it, compression of support, this isn't a really high indicator. I wouldn't have taken that reversal because it did reverse, but I wouldn't have been very comfortable with it because it really hadn't got, that indicator needs to be 4 or 5, and that means it's a lot more comfortable for a reversal. Look right here. If you see that this one spiked up, that's clear up to a 3. There was a lot better reversal right there. When it stays down by 2s, you can't really rely on the reversal that much. So let's look at the other chart we have. The other chart, I think I opened it up already. It's behind here. This was that nice $45 stock. It's right behind it. Let's see. Let's turn this one off. We'll see if resistance is expanding on it. Let's go to expert. Let's delete all this. We don't need a bunch of indicators on here. We just want to get just down to the chart and get right into the charting. Now I'm going to turn back on because we're looking at the daily. I just want to see what resistance is doing. Is that showing an increase in momentum? Big increase in momentum. Big old increase in momentum. Let's see the pullback here just before it reversed. We're looking for a characteristic of the chart. Let's go down here to 410. That's about where it reversed. See what our intraday data look like just before the reversal. So what I'm teaching you is how a reversal works, why it comes in. Generally speaking, it's because it ceases, the momentum ceases to the downside. Hold on just a second. PHA, US, semicolon PHA. Okay? If this ever happens, you just type the symbol in and you change it. It means it's not in the database for some reason. The online database, unless I typed it wrong. Okay? And you just click on North American Stocks, US, semicolon PHA. Okay, let's wait until it pops up. Undeliverable data. I'm not sure why I don't have it in there. Okay, 415. It did have a trade. Oh, look. Okay, this is a little quirky thing. There's a good thing and a bad thing about Metastock. The good thing is that you can run your own list. The bad thing is that if you don't go through and delete the old data on your hard drive that you're watching, it'll pop up and fake you out like that. You see the last traded date? 4/2003. They must have had a symbol change or something like that. It's not a good one. So you would they have a little application you can pick up from tech support and do it. This is a brand new laptop that I just reloaded some data on and I hadn't done it yet. Okay, I'm going to look at one more to try to illustrate this little point better of a reversal. Let me think of a good stock that's on a nice uptrend. My brain is drawing blank on a nice orderly ascent. Well, let's look at, somebody can think of one, tell me. Let's see what they got in here. Go down. Some of these are nice. They've been on a nice little ascent. Catfish has. Flow. Okay, let's look at flow. Because what I want to do is jump back in time and show you some of this. So flow's a good one. File, new chart. US colon. Flow. This is an intraday one. I want to go to a daily. We want to start on a daily. I got to change the data here. Hold on just a second. Okay, I had to shut down my Metastock because I had too much stuff running. But while it comes up, you guys understand the point that what we're trying to get to. You should be able to see my Word document, and then we'll pull up flow and look at it. Does everybody see this Word document on here? Oh, FTO, GLW, and FTO. We'll pull both of those up while it reconnects. But what we're going to do is we're going to find one with resistance expanding that fits our characteristics, where that indicator said, hey, the computer does it. You don't even need to see the indicator on the daily, but you have to look at it on the 5-minute one. Because one of our trigger techniques, let's get down to our triggers down here. Our triggers really work off of buying intraday before you go to work, placing an order in here. So let's pull this up. Let's go US colon Frontier Oil, and U.S. colon Jerry or George Lima whiskey. Oops, it's comma. Okay, both charts will come up real quick. We'll just look at them both. Okay, here's the intraday one. I'm going to open them both again on a daily chart, and we'll have them all on there. Okay, let's change this to a daily. Now, this indicator that I've been using, it's derived from, not see besides the one shutting down. Oh, here. Okay, how about this one? Can you guys see this now? Okay. So let's just, we're going to be looking at both pullbacks. So we'll look here, look here, look here. Resistance wasn't expanding. So I wouldn't take this trade. It dropped down. It broke that little support level. Resistance didn't expand. So on Corning, it's probably going to run still because of where the it came off this support pivot. But I'd be nervous as it approached the resistance point because momentum had showed that it's slowing down after it broke out. But let's look at a really good one. Okay, let's look at a really good, decent pullback. Hold on. If we go down here, there's one right back here. Okay. We had a pullback, a breakup. That one wasn't a good one, but then it just ripped. This one, because now there's two types of traders. Where this went red, it's bullish to an intermediate level trader. This is kind of a tricky concept where the minor pivot traders lost control of the stock and the intermediate guys pushed it up. That will happen. It just depends on your perspective. What you can see is, let me try to express that to you. This is kind of off the topic, but I think it'll illustrate why the last two stocks we've looked at took off. Okay, we're going to go to intermediate high. Okay, if we look back here, this intermediate level was hugely expanding. And in real time, this wouldn't have been there. This would have been a minor resistance point. There was that huge expansion, and then bang, it took off. That's an intermediate level expansion. So there's a whole bunch of different ways to look at it, depending on what type of trader you are. So I'm going to flip over to the Frontier Oil. Frontier Oil, it broke out, and then, you know, everybody knows that there's been some oil prices running up. This was a good bull pullback, right in here. Matter of fact, let's look at this down day. This is perfect for some of the stuff I wanted to articulate. 411. Thanks, Vivian. This is a perfect stock for exactly what I wanted to illustrate. Okay, I'm going to 411. This is the daily one. And I'm going to leave Frontier Oil up, and I'm going to close Corning. And I'm going to take Frontier Oil to 411. Okay, let's go to 401. Let's actually take that back to 2. Okay, I'm going to put both of these charts side by side. I like the daily ones on top. Now, this is how I keep my screens laid out when I'm trading. I always put on the daily chart or your trade identification chart on top, and I put your 5-minute chart on the bottom. Screen not updating. Okay, hold on. The screen should be updating now. I just took it off. Is it updating? Okay. Here is your nice expansion on the daily that we had. Okay, now on your 5-minute one, let's pull up our indicator. Compressions of support. Okay, let's look at that. That one's just got a 1 on it right there. A 1, it's not ranking it. Let's pull up some more data. Okay, it showed, because it has to all be facing down. Now this isn't a perfect indicator because there's not 3 M's on the way down or 3 I's that were straight down, because they had to all appear straight down. So sometimes you have to use your eyes and you say, look, from here there was a nice breakdown. The next breakdown was smaller. So here's the original breakdown coming in from right in about right here. Here's that S. Okay? We have that nice big breakdown, a large move here. Let me delete everything on there so you can see it. Okay? There was a large move down. Now, indicators aren't perfect, so this is where your experience level gets better. There's that large breakdown, and now this time, look, especially right in here, we really focus on what's happened in the shortest amount of time. This thing's slowing down. Okay? Since that slowed down, that's a really good sign of a reversal, especially in an oil stock. Because the drop from that M to this I, it was pretty big, and then from this I to this S, it would drop and there'd be buyers sooner. Buyers sooner, buyers sooner. Does everybody understand that concept? That indicator that I was putting on is just to try to help you, but it looks for 3 consecutive pivots down. It also has a little bit of Elliott wave theory built into it. 3 consecutive pivots down are a good reversal time. Now, what does buy sooner mean? If we break support right here, this line, I'll make it a black line. Okay? If we break that support line and it drops $2, and the next time we break this red support line and it drops 50 cents, is momentum increasing or decreasing? We broke the black line, then we broke the red line, then we came down to the blue line. It's decreasing. That's right. Now, this indicator that I put on here, it also works on some Elliott wave theory. It means 3 consecutive pivots in one direction. If you get 3 consecutive pivots in one direction on 3 different time frames with slowing momentum, it's done. It's done. It's going to go down. That's why there's such a high probability of a reversal if you see it, because it's a combination of Elliott wave, where you get a buying phase, selling phase, buying phase, selling phase, buying phase. But it actually ends up being the end of a wave 5 count. Not that you guys ever get into that or would ever want to. It's just basic premise of another technical analysis method that I'm not going to be teaching to you, is that, hey, it moves so many in one direction. There's a high probability of a reversal. Just look at that, take a glance at that indicator. If you can still think it's good by looking at the different support levels with your eyeballs, because your eyeballs are just as good as that indicator. Okay, any questions on that concept? Because this is one of our axioms. Okay, you should be able to see the Word document now. Okay? Does everybody see the Word doc? Yes, no, Word doc? Okay, these are the 3 main points of what we're covering. Axiom 1, Axiom 2, and Axiom 3. All of the things that we do are built upon that. Now, one of the things I set in here that we hadn't covered, this is, I don't want these Keltner channels in here. Let's take these out. Okay. We're going to drop this down. This is a set of indicators I use. Does everybody remember ATR, date, range? Does anybody have any questions on date or range? We talked about it a little bit last week. Yeah, exactly, Debbie. You have to use that. And notice the market's closed. The 5 minutes to confirm. The daily chart is called your trade identification chart. Your 5 minute is your trigger chart. One of the things that we started talking about, let's pop back up here in this axiom. Support is an upward movement in price defined by a buy stop. Or in other words, support is the failure of resistance. The failure of resistance is the development of a trend. If we go up and we look at our buying techniques, we said that, hey, technique 1 is to buy above yesterday because support is becoming support, buy above yesterday's high. Technique 2 was to buy using a stochastic, but it cost us a lot. We always had to give up 20%. Technique 3 was to buy as intraday resistance fails. If we go down here and we look at an example of that, we put in some costs of trading. Okay? We have a cost of trading, which was commission in, commission out. Then we had this new cost that I discussed with you, which is a trading range cost. How much I had to give up to know support is support. And in the example we used last week, we used example of this. Example was LLTC, linear check on LLTC 4 or 2/4/2004, and we determined that on that day it would cost, using method 1, would cost 16% of potential profit. Okay. Example 2 was LLTC 2/4/2004. Method 2 would cost 20% of X range. Because we were using a stochastic, whatever you picked, you'd have to go up 20%. Volatility does matter, but we have some things that measure that, and I'll show you that in just a second. So we have the trading range cost, and that trading range cost was pretty high using method 1 and method 2. So the reason that you buy real-time metastock and you buy real-time data that you look at when you come home from work, even though you're not sitting there while it's trading, is to determine if axiom 3 is going to help you. Is momentum slowing down? And number 2, the other reason you buy it is you come down here and you say, well, look at this. In this particular technique, technique 3, we buy intraday as resistance fails. Well, just because momentum is slowing down on Vivian's chart here, we're not going to buy it there. I'm going to buy it. Here's my trigger spot. Let's make a green line for the trigger spot. Okay? Let's make a big old green line up here. Why would I pick that, Vivian, since this is your chart, why would I pick that green line to buy it? Above resistance, support is forming, so it matches one of our axioms, doesn't it? Okay. If we go up here, it lowers our cost of trading. It matches this axiom. A trend is the failure of support or resistance, and support is an upward movement in price. It matches two laws that are irrevocably decreed in heaven. Support is that it's an upward movement in price, and momentum is determined by the distance between pivots, and a trend is the failure of support. So if we deal with that, with our charts in that way, we say, oh, we saw a slowing in momentum. That doesn't mean it's done going down. It's like a fish hook. Nobody fishes with a straight hook. They got to have a hook. And it starts to move up. Okay, that was a basic review. Does that make sense? Because I clipped over that last week really fast. Make sense to everyone? Where we buy and why we buy, and how we identify it. Okay. Any questions? Because I'm going to move to a new subject that I want to cover today. Is this process documented? Just in what I typed you right here. Nope. What he's asking is I co-designed power pivots, so to speak. Some other people did the C programming. There's some quirky backtesting in that, so don't use it for backtesting. But this is how I use power pivots. This is why these were ideas that I had that I discussed with the other developer, Sandon, for my own trading. Okay? It's not discussed in there. This is how I use that plugin, and exactly why. Because I need to measure the distance between support and resistance. One of the indicators that we hadn't really, where we discussed last time was date range and ATR. And date range and ATR deal with the average number of days between support and resistance, the range between pivots, which goes to the question that someone had about volatility. We use our trading plan up here, in our trading plan, to meet our goal of $24,000 in 6 months. We have to find stocks that move that much. That's how we do that. We use these personal rules, and we have to gauge volatility, or I don't even want to look at it. Make sense? Yeah, that is a really volatile one. That's a really, really volatile one. I'll be right back in 1 second. I just knocked my drink over. Give me just 1 second. I got to move my laptop with. Okay, sorry about that. That was not very graceful. Okay. Let's get back on track here. We use volatility in this analysis. This scans for stocks that meet our volatility requirements to try to meet our goals. Okay? If they don't meet our goals, then how can I make any money in the market? There has to be some semblance of volatility. I like things with huge. One of the positions I'm in right now is I just got out of ISE. I've been in NYX. I'm still in it. I'm getting irritated with it. I might leave it. It's kind of a pricey stock, and it's not good. The range on it, though, look at the range on this. Look at the range. I scanned for a stock that had a very high range. Let's look at how much money's on the table there. No, I wish I could say your name better. They're not part of the Metastock program. They're part of Power Pivots. You would need Power Pivots to do that. Kevin will, Mr. Nelson will type you some stuff about, I use a specific indicator pack. I've published the indicators that I use for free. I make no money off Power Pivots. I make no money off the sales of Metastock. Matter of fact, Brett Charlesworth asked me to do these seminars basically for beer money, okay? And it's more like a favor for him. And the point here is I'm not here to solicit business for you guys per se, for my own account or anything like that. I'm here to show you how I'm trading and how I'm making money. I brought up an account that was up $140,000 this month. That's not too shabby for a short fat guy. I'm a short fat guy. That's not too bad. Okay? The AMT scans, they're going to post them in the Metastock forum. I've left them open source so you can tweak with them. Maybe you'll find an error in them. I'm constantly modifying my own scans. There'll be some scans in there that you guys can have. Okay? But you have to have Power Pivots to make this work. And to get this better cost at getting into a trade, let's just talk for a second, okay? The ability to scan for 90 to 75, your cost in that trade is insignificant to the trading range, okay? The trading range. But if I take something like Dell, let's just take Dell, or a mature stock like Intel, or something like that. If I pull up Dell, and I bring up some information about Dell, okay? Let's bring this up. Oops, I wanted it on the side. So I had this one I was putting up sideways. That's all right, we'll just leave it sideways. Okay. For Dell, the current trading range is $1.15. The other one was $25. Okay, let's just make a little calculation. If I was to buy, Dell is worth $30. 100 shares is $3,000, and I bought $3,000 of this stock, and it moved $1, which is its whole trading range. I got a hole in one. I made $100. If I had a $25 range and I bought 20 shares, how much would I make? Okay, somebody compute that. A $25 range on 20 shares. Just 20 shares. And how much is 20 shares on a $75 stock? I'll have to get my calculator out. My brain's tired. I traded all day and it was stressful today. 500. And how much capital did I have to put up, Krista? How much capital for just 20 shares? on a $75 stock. 1,500. Half as much, okay? Half as much as my Dell trade. Beautiful. Why do I want to trade Dell? No reason to trade Dell. None. Stay away from it. Makes you no money, gives you no love. It's a beautiful company. They make nice computers, but they sure don't help you out with your trading. There's no volatility in there. We seek out volatility as traders, okay, because I don't have to put up as much capital. Now, who is scared of trading 20 shares? Psychologically, who's scared of trading 20 shares? Anybody? Nobody? Nobody? Is anybody scared of it? Nobody's scared of trading 20 shares. The point here is you can put up less capital, get more bang for your buck by the size of the trading range. And so we have a minimum trading range in our notes here. Okay? Our notes say that we need at least $3 between support and resistance, and it better move a buck a day or I'm not even interested. Okay? Well, if you have a $5,000 account, the little formula here, let me show you a little formula. You can put this in your Metastock. Oh, let's see if I can remember it. There's a formula. I'll try to remember to add it into the notes. We can take this will be amazing to you, Vivian. We can take this little formula and we can set that formula into Metastock and say how much before I used up my whole entire account could I spend on X amount of stocks and still these stocks still would meet my goal. And it's escaping me right now what it is. It's a very basic formula. It goes through and it takes the trading range, which is the average distance of the stock, and it compares it to the cost of the stock and then how much you can put in. And so you can actually scan, and the moral of the story here is that this date and range indicator give you an idea of average volatility. How many people in this room are scanning for volatility in this way, where you can say, oh, I know that between support and resistance, this stock should move this amount. Hold on just a second, Bonnie. I am not sure how to get them on your desktop, but Kevin can probably, or not Kevin, but Nelson can probably tell you how to get to the Metastock forum, and you can pull them up in the Metastock forum, if that makes sense. Okay. But does anybody have any questions on what I just explained? I explained basically what we've done here tonight is we've discussed this. I'm going to scroll down. We reviewed a few things, but we introduced date and range from yesterday. Okay, we reviewed it, and resistance expanding and support contracting. Okay, those are indicators. Those are indicators contained in my indicator pack for my trading. They may not make any sense to you. They work for me. I made them for myself so that they would go and look for certain things. Okay, but I want to know if you have any questions conceptually on what we covered. Yeah, volatility can be an expression of the trading range, Krista, for sure. And volatility can be an expression of the average movement per day. And volatility can be expressed in how fast it moves in your portfolio. Okay. So the 5-minute chart is your trigger chart, what you call the daily chart. Trade identification. Okay. Without being crass, one of the guys who taught me how to trade is Andy Bouchak. Andy Bouchak was a football player. He hurt himself, and he's no longer a football player. He's a trader. But Andy used to say this. He'd say, Jeff, when you walk into a club, do you rest your eyes on the pretty girl or do you rest your eyes on the bartender? I'd say, well, Andy, the pretty girl. He goes, well, do you go over and talk to her? And I'd say, well, no, I just don't go over and talk to her. He goes, would you go over and talk to her if she winked at you? I go, well, sure, let me go over and talk to her. He goes, well, the same thing happens with a trade. You look at a trade and you go, wow, that's a pretty looking chart. That daily chart looks like it has enough volatility to make me some money. But until that chart winks at you, you can't buy it. And what's a wink? A wink kind of is just where it starts to move above 5-minute resistance. That tells you it's starting to move in your direction. You better get on that and start taking that trade. Okay? Okay, we haven't talked about stop steady. I'm going to review that. That's my topic, trade management, for probably next week. If I can get through all the trade identification stuff. I have the sneakiest, and I may do it the very last week, the sneakiest little thing I can do with stocks to just save you money. Okay? It's very sneaky and very worth it. Alright, so I'm going to beg off on stops. It goes under trade management. I'll give you a hint. It says trade management. It doesn't say stop. Now, one of the things with volatile stocks, I guess what Bonnie's asking me is, how is risk controlled? Is risk better controlled by, and I know Vivian's going to know this. I'm going to ask Vivian the question and she can answer it. Okay? Is risk better controlled by share size, or is risk better controlled by a stock? Which do you think? Better controlled by share size or better controlled by a stock? Share size, exactly. It's better controlled by share size. Okay? So you put your share size in there and you control your risk better. Alright, so let's go down here. Here's some of the stuff I wanted to get into. One of the things we have these are 4 core patterns: a breakdown, a breakout, and a bull pullback. And I want to go back to this breakout. And we started to talk about high relative strength stocks when I should have spent more time reviewing. Okay? But I ran a breakup scan. I'm going to click a report. And these are stocks that are really, really close to breaking out. And this was, let me see the date. This was, I'm going to put on the resistance points. Okay. I'm just going to put on resistance. Okay. You see where that has an engulfing bull? And I don't know the date on this. It's scanned this. Okay. That is a 420. That was 420. Is that what it did today? I guess that's what it did today. Today's the 20th. Okay, that thing's very close to breaking out tomorrow. You can take that. I might even take that trade tomorrow if that's today's date. Let's set that trade up on ScanDisk. Hold on just a second. I got to make sure I don't already have a position on it. I don't remember. I want to pop this account up and take a queue up a trade on it. We're going to trade it just a little bit above this high. Okay. Let's see if it logs on. Oh, that's my firewall. Hold on just a second. Norton's evilly updated my firewall, and it does not let me through, so I have to disable it. Okay. I was in there earlier. We'll get in and we'll just place a quick trade, and we can review that next week on ScanDisk and see how we did. If I already have a trade on there, I won't be able to. Hold on, my fingers are in the... Okay, hold on just a second. It'll be in 2 minutes. Now, one of the things that I like, we're getting a higher resistance or support point. Let me label the support points so you can see those. One of the things about a breakout, there's a really, really, really important thing you have to do with a breakout. Okay? You guys should see the Metastock screen. If in a breakout, you have something like this. The bottom 2 pivots are down and then it breaks out, like this one. Here's a perfect example. It did break out, but you never trust it. Look, I'll show you why. This is a really good, leads into a concept we're going to get into. Those pivots, it dropped an inordinate amount. If that one's kind of support, so that's a bad example. It's a double bottom. if you have two down-sloping support levels really similar to this, like if this had two really big down-sloping ones, you'd never take a breakout because the position of the pivots would look like this. We're going to talk about a concept called position of the last four pivots, and it would really be looking like this. If you have the resistance pivots going up and the support pivots going down, and the first thing it does is break support pivot, but you can't take it expecting that breakout. You're on uneven ground. You should not take it. Oh yeah, is ScanDisk reporting tomorrow, Vivian? Oh, thanks for putting that in black. You probably saved my bacon. You probably saved my bacon. Are they reporting? Will you check it for me? Yeah, because I was talking and I would have got distracted, and I would have forgot to check that. And we're right in the middle of earnings season. I could have been punished. Okay, let's see what I got. Is there a ScanDisk trade in here? SNDK? Nope. Let's go to on deck here. Let's go like this. Ticker SNDK. Okay, if Vivian tells me it's kosher, I'll have an order in here. We're going to look at it. I'm going to put in an order probably. I'm going to do it just above the high of the day. The high of the day was 64.67. 64.67. Okay, I'm going to go into right here, 64.67. Let's go to trade, buy, 64.67. About 67, and I'm going to change it to a buy stop limit. Okay, and then over here, I'm going to say, what's its ATR? Its ATR is, flip this around on here. Earnings today. Wow, earnings today. I didn't know that they reported today. Okay, so earnings event's over. Earnings must have been really good. That ATR is 260. And it ran like that and it's down. I would want to probably read over the earnings thing. There's this really neat thing in Metastock. Watch this. If we're going to take this trade, we're going to right click and we're going to go to research, analyst, and risk alerts. Okay. After the market closed, I got to check what it's doing after the market closes. I can't take that trade yet, and I haven't taught you guys enough to explain to you what I'd have to do. I'm going to cancel it, but I'll explain it to you. Okay, this is a risk alert in Metastock. I hope everybody can see it. It passed all of them except for estimate revisions. Okay, and estimate revisions, I don't know if they just came out and revised down. I'd have to look at that. But ScanDisk is perfect for a breakout. Now, there's a couple things I have to check that lead me to one of the concepts that I wanted to cover tonight. And I would have to look at some aftermarket data to check this out. And it's called the position of the last four pivots. This is really helps me a lot in my own trading. And to show you this, I need to see how they lined up after market. And let me explain it to you. We're going to go back to this breakout trade and finish discussing it. Okay, and I'll try to click along at a really fast pace so we can get it all done. What I'm doing is I'm launching a program that I can kind of etch on the screen with. It's like a paint program. Can everybody see this thing that says whiteboard? Can you see a whiteboard? Okay, look at this. I'm going to split some hairs, and I'm not going to take any questions real quick about it. I would usually try to talk to you about this, but this is not an uptrend. Okay, this is called a forming uptrend. This is called a fixed uptrend. All right? It takes 4 points to have an uptrend. The last four pivots, A, B, C, and D. Okay? If you have A, B, C, and D, you have an uptrend. Okay? This one's forming, not forming. These are called basic setups. Basic setups. Okay? If I have a basic setup, you can tell if your stock's in an uptrend by the last four pivots. So let's look at a down one's the inverse. I'll just paste this into your notes. The down would be inverted, and then you'd have a sideways trend. These would land in the basic ones. You would need four pivots for a sideways trend. A, B, C, and D. If you're down by D, you may look to go long. If you're up by D, you may look to go short. That's a sideways trend. Now there's three other ones. These are called Murphy patterns, and they actually sell a plugin at Metastock that articulates these really, really well. They're classical patterns. It's their best-selling plugin. Yeah, mine wasn't the best-selling one. It's John Murphy's chart pattern recognition, and it articulates these in this direction. It says volatility is decreasing. That's called a symmetrical triangle. This one is called an ascending triangle. I'm just going to lay these things out here real quick for you. An ascending triangle. You can get John Murphy's book or buy the plugin if you want to study him more. Murphy's got a really good book about him. Okay? This is called an ascending triangle. Now, these other patterns are called, these next three, that's a descending, ascending, and symmetrical. These next three are really important. They're called alligators, and they happen around changes in trend. And there's three alligators, and there's a reason they call them an alligator, because they're when the trend rolls up or the trend rolls down. And they involve the last four pivots. This one basically goes like this: up, down, okay? And this one is up, down, and then same thing. You got to have four pivots: up, down, okay, below that. And this one came up here. Okay, now let me explain these to you, and then I'll show you them on a chart. First off, we broke support. So who thinks that this is bullish or bearish? We broke support right there. We had four pivots. We broke this support level. Pivot A, pivot B, pivot C, pivot D. Let me put them on so you can see them better. A, this is really critical. B, C, and D. A, B, C, and D. Okay, here we have A, B, C, and D. All right? Now, look, in this type of alligator, this is called an open mouth alligator. What happened is the trend jumped up and was bullish. What does an alligator do when he opens his mouth? What's he do? Let's ask Brian D. Snaps. Exactly. He snaps. So what's going to happen to this stock? It broke support. So it broke support. It should snap back up into here. What do we do when it gets into here? When it gets into that area, what will we be looking for? Slowing momentum. We'll be looking for maybe bumping into a moving average, some form of resistance. But we'll look for it to fail about halfway up that range. Okay, he snaps his mouth shut. Now, what that does, guess where the new pivots? We're expecting a pivot to form right here. E. Okay, well, it'll probably be E down here and then F. Okay? What that means is it rolled. It's no longer in, it's got a set trend. The set trend would be this: from D to F, and B to E means it's going down. B to E means it's going down, and D to F. It's where a change in trend happens. In this example, his mouth's open, and he's going to snap back down. We expect a higher support level. If I have a higher support level here, what's going to happen? It's now in an uptrend. It rolled over from this sideways trend in an uptrend. Same with this one. It rolls over, and it's got the four pivots lining up the right way. Now, to answer the question, I'm going to pop these in here, and we're going to drill on these to see exactly what happened on ScanDisk. I'm going to go US colon SNDK. I'm going to look at a 5-minute chart. I want to make sure that this has properties. I want to make sure this is set to a 24-hour market. Kevin, if I do this wrong, tell me. Okay, I want to take this back to, I want to see night trading. Essentially, I'm setting this chart so I can see night trading. Okay, let me just put this in here. I think it's just 00, 00. Okay, or 12 a.m. No, let's do 1. I only need to go to 1, and then let's go to like 6 o'clock at night. I really only need to go from night trading starts. My clock's set to Eastern Standard Time. Night trading starts at about 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. Okay, and I'm going to see what happened after market. 12 a.m. start and end. Well, first, I was thinking about doing 12 a.m., but the reason I stopped is on stocks I don't need to go back that far. On commodities, I would do that. Okay, I'm going to open this chart now, and this should bring up the night trading. Okay, so after market, I need to know how the pivots lined up. Oof. Wow, what is that? Bad ticks. Bad tick. Okay, let's fix this. Maximum. What's the price of ScanDisk? Anybody know about? What's the price? Somebody give me an idea. 64, so I'll go 66. Let's do the minimum 60. If you get a bad tick, what it does is mess up your scale. See, there were some bad trades. I can't even tell what happened. They shot clear off the screen. There were some bad trades in there, so I can't get the last pivots. These are well off the screen. Sometimes I've seen this happen at night where the order operator will put the decimal point in the wrong spot, and they'll spike it right off the screen. So I can't tell what the last 4 pivots are doing, but we're going to assume I'm going to go to right here, 419 at 4 o'clock. 419, oh, that's all of today. 419 at 4 o'clock. Why isn't the 20th coming up at all? It's the whole day. Well, I can still illustrate this on 419. I'm just going to jump back a time, and we're just going to pretend here for a second. Okay, looking at this, let's ask Cash Investor. How are the last 4 pivots lined up on this one? I'll draw them in. There's a forming pivot right down here. What kind of pattern is that? Well, Krista, I stopped because I can't look at the last 4 pivots. There was a bad tick on there, and I can't look at it. I need to look for what I'm showing you. Because after the announcement, there's night trading, and I need to see how something lines up. Cash Investor, what kind of pattern is this? Not sure. Vivian, what kind of pattern is it? A gator, yeah, it's a gator, all right. It's a gator, so it came back up into here. Now, what do we expect? This thing, it's got red bars. We broke support. What would you guys expect? Okay. Well, it's a gator. What would you guys expect? We just looked at the last 4 pivots. We have a new pivot because we're trading below support. So, what would you think it's going to do? Is it going to go higher or lower? We're pretending the news announcement already came out. I can't look at that data. Okay, because there was some bad ticks in there. Would you expect it to go higher like that? Let's take a vote. Higher, Brad, you would expect it to go higher? With that kind of pattern right there, and we're just looking at the last 4 pivots. Right? I think it goes, if you see, okay, let's go back to one of our axioms, because we had 2 people saying higher. Okay, what was one of our axioms? And remember, this is a law irrevocably decreed in heaven. Okay? It works like this. A trend is the failure of support or resistance. Yeah? What are the last 4 pivots? The most sensitive thing that you can learn, the last 4 pivots give you an idea of what's going to happen. In the shortest term, because I'm on a 5-minute chart, in the next 10, 15, 20 minutes, what's it going to do? It's not likely that it goes higher because it took out support. Okay? It took out a support level. If we don't look at moving averages, we don't look at anything else, it took out a support level. If it does go higher, if it does blow through this point, it doesn't have very good footing. Now, has anybody tried to stand on a mountain like that and lift somebody up it? You can't do it. You can't. You have to get down on one knee and try to pull them up. I mean, see, you got one foot up the hill and another foot down the hill. You don't have very good footing to take out the high, do you? Well, if it clears resistance, you still don't have good footing. You have to wait for the retracement of that resistance until you get good footing. So here's the thing. Pivots are lined up wrong. They're lined up wrong to go long. Okay? They're lined up like they want to start a downtrend. If the pivots are lined up wrong, those last 4 pivots, you can't trade to the long side until they rotate. They've got to roll up. So you have to wait. Who said wait? You have to wait. Wait till it clears resistance, but then you have to wait till the pivots to line up in the right way. Because right now, if you have a pattern like this, and this is what we think, well, here, I'm going to get my drawing up here. Let's find it. Okay. Oh, I closed it. Let's bring it back up. Oops. If you have a pattern like this, where your pivots, you've failed that pivot, and you have, this is kind of what we're looking at. Okay, you kind of got this sideways one here, and you broke support. Now just think of the last 4. The reason I'm drawing it like this, you're only looking at the last 4, the smallest ones. That's not a healthy thing. If we do come up here and go like this, what does it need to do before it keeps attacking higher? It has to build a higher base camp. It has to retrace. If it retraces into there, fine. Buy the first retracement of the breakout. Somebody said wait until it clears resistance, but you buy the first retracement of that clearance of resistance. You wait. You just have to wait. It's not lined up right. That will keep you at a more trouble than you can shake a stick at. If you look at a 5-minute chart and the pivots are lined up wrong, blow it off. Because remember our trigger time frame, and the reason we need intraday data is to see what's going on. Let's give you an example of that just on a bull pullback. We'll just take one of our bull pullbacks and jump to that. These are some that we didn't look at. I'll take a really highly ranked bull pullback. Okay, let's take one, AT. I don't think we looked at AT, did we? Okay, it's got a rank of 7. 7 out of 9 things. AT. Oh, and I must have hit something else on there, because that is not AT, that's RES. I must have hit one of the other breakouts or something. AT, we've got one right there for AT. Got the MAs coming together. Let's look at this. Here, okay, I'm going to teach you something that somebody taught me once, and I couldn't figure it out. Somebody asked me once, why do people like dojis, haramis, engulfing bulls? Why do they like them? Let's pick on Vivian. Why would you like a harami, a doji, and an engulfing bull? Why would people like those patterns? Because I'm going to teach you something that has to do with the last 4 pivots that deals with that. They're turning candles, but why are they turning candles? Do you know why they're turning candles? They closed bullish. Harami means a pregnant lady. An 11th century pregnant lady has nothing to do with our stock market. But the concept that you close closer to the high, if you close really close to the higher, you have a doji. What have the last 4 pivots done intraday? What do you think that they've done if you close near the high? They're turning points. But what do you think, if you close near the high of the day, are the pivots pointed up or down? They're trending. They're trending up intraday. If you close near the low of the day, is momentum turned? No, it hasn't. It hasn't. So if I look at this one, this is that AT. What can I tell about the last 4 pivots? What do they do? Well, if I just look at these last pivots, it's an alligator. It's a possible change in trend, and it's pulled back a little bit, but I'm not going to until it confirms the change in trend. The confirmed change in trend is above that point. Okay, so it's a possible change in trend. That's what it's telling you. You always say the market is going to go in the direction the last pivot was taken out. The last pivot was a resistance point that failed. That's why the bars are blue. That you're going that way, and you have to wait for that rotation. It hasn't rotated. It hasn't rolled up. Let's get another one. Okay. We're going to pop up one more. Let's see. No, I didn't open another one. Hold on. Let's see. Not range. Let's get another highly ranked one. Let's go down here. Let's get one that's ranked as 6. Those are $3 stocks. Yuck. Somebody's asking a question. I'm going to open all these while you ask that question. Oh, used column in the searches. Used means where you are in your trading range. This means I didn't have enough data to calculate one of my indicators. Let's remove this. I must have had, it says BM monetary funds rate. I must have opened that and not had enough data to capture it. So I said don't do that. What, Krista, what that means is where you are in your trading range. Like if it's 40%, like the used on this one, watch. I'll show you real quick. I want that thing to come in sideways. Hold on just a second. I'm going to resize it on the other screen. There it goes. Trying to just make it so smaller because I want it to lock on right here. It's not doing it. I give up. Hold on. I'll just read it to you. It's got some information on there that I need to help you to understand this. Okay. Basically, the used column, I just want to see what it was, and I can't even read it from there, so I'll just bring up the indicator. I'm going to detach that. Hold on just a second. Just close that. I'll bring up the used. This talks about it, the expert, but it was taking up too much of my chart. 42% used. And then I'm going to go back to talking about these 4 pivots. Okay. It means we are 42% up off of support. Before I ever open the chart, I know where I am in my trading range. It closed 42% up off of support. I'd start to know that. Okay? You see this? This inverted hammer is a bad thing. Somebody tell me why this inverted hammer is a bad thing. Why do people hate inverted hammers? Oh, this is that one that I got to delete out of there. April 2003. I can't pull that one out. It's a bearish candle, but what are the last 4 pivots doing? What are the last 4 pivots doing on it? They'll be close to the downside. They'll be rotated all down because it closed near its low. Let's pull this one up. Pepsi-Cola bottling. It's US PBG. Okay. Now the main goal here today is to show you why you need real-time data. The market's closed right now. We need to see how it lined up at the very last, okay? This kind of looks like a little cup and handle. These are all pretty close to the same. See in here, let's put this line up a little bit. That looks kind of like a sideways pattern to me. Who wants to trade a sideways pattern? Is there any money in between those 2 points? On this chart, is there any money between these points? Ernie, what do you think? Here, let me ask Ernie this, or Dave. Ernie or Dave, because we haven't heard from you guys. At what specific point on Pepsi-Cola bottling will an uptrend ensue and we're no longer in a sideways trend? At what specific point? Oh, you know what? I'm thinking no one's talking, and it hadn't auto-scrolled my screen, sorry. Yeah, tie 10 looping cents, not much. If it breaks resistance, yeah. If it breaks resistance at around 31.50, 31.45, we're going to get, sorry, I didn't see, I thought no one was responding. I was going to get worried that we were, well, I thought it just hadn't scrolled up. At 31.45, this is really important about pivot trading. It's quantifiable. We can quantify our risk by taking distances between pivots. We can quantify an uptrend will ensue at 31.45. Currently, we're in a sideways trend. That's why it had a doji star on the daily. At 31.45, that's where we buy it, because an uptrend started again. Okay, 31, yeah, 48. Yeah, you're exactly right. Let's make right on the money. Kevin's got it right on the money. At 31.48, that's where an uptrend will ensue. Okay? So that's why you have to look at real-time data. And you can look at this and you can say, all right, has momentum decreased or increased? Well, to me, it looks like an increase to the downside in momentum. There was a big drop and no significant pullback. I'd be nervous about this one because it looks like it just had a nice big old failure and it never finished. I like to see a couple pivots in the failure direction, then a reversal. So I'd be nervous about taking this one. It pulled back up, so Pepsi-Cola isn't my favorite. We opened a whole bunch. Let's look at the next one. That was our doji star on Pepsi-Cola. Nationwide, let's move that one. Oof, I don't like that chart. That one slowed right down. Hotels. Okay, first off, I don't like hotels. I don't like airlines. And I don't like Chuck E. Cheese, and Chuck E. Cheese is a good company to short. Okay? Now, what can you guys tell me about the three lines I drew on? We popped up hotels. What can you already tell me about this? Let's ask Ernie. Ernie, what can you tell about that? Oh, Krista beat you to the punch. Compressing. Momentum's decreasing. It's compressing. Exactly. Good long. Is that a good long cash investor? Room. Room's not in there either. Room. Okay. Better to short. Better candidates to short. Yeah. Short sheeted. Exactly. Let's see what it's doing intraday. For some reason that didn't pop up on the intraday one. Let's refresh it. Wasn't it room? Wasn't the symbol room? Room. R-O-O-M. Oh, look at that. I did it again. You know what? I took this old database of stocks that I have all the stocks broken down by sector, and it's about a year old, but I just keep it. I put it in there, and I forgot to run my update on this new computer to clean out stocks that are no good. Okay, there's another one, 6/20/2003. You have to do that every once in a while. Here's one. Let's look at the next one. What's that? Oh, expert, attached, CECO. Let's look at this one. Oh, hey, that doesn't look bad. What happened to momentum here? So what's happening to momentum? It's increasing. Let's go look at this one. I know is still valid. I've traded this before. CECO, 5-minute chart. Okay. Now, I already know something about CECO. It looked like a good pattern on the daily, but the daily bar closed near its low. It's not as bad as I thought. What are the last four pivots doing? They're starting to move up. That means we can take heart in this trade. We can say, okay, then let's look at our momentum. Is it slowing down? Let's use our indicator here because I don't want to have to calculate it by hand. We're going to look for compression of support. Okay. Not too long ago we had a 2. Okay. We don't have any major pivots really set on that, or intermediate ones. Okay, I'm going to have to use my eyes on this one. To me, right here, there's a double bottom intraday, and that indicator's not checking for a double bottom. Shows that momentum's slowing down. We have a couple pivots starting to move to the upside. Okay, let's pick on, Debbie. Debbie, where would I buy this one? Where would I buy this one? Off this, there's a bottom here, two pivots right in the same area. Where am I going to buy it? Where do you think? Oh, there you are. The last resistance. That's right. That's one place, but we're not going to put all our marbles on the table. We're sneaky poker players. We may buy, and this thing had a huge range on the daily, so we could buy some up here too. Now, look, that's 38.60. How do I know if you're like, Jeff, man, that's 38.60, and I can buy it at 38.10 right now? Okay? I'm going to tell you something Mike Wombat told me. And he'd say, well, Jeff, if you cross above that resistance point, you cross above that black moving average, you cross above that other resistance point, how many things do you need to tell you that that stock's going up? But really the question then becomes, at 38.60, I know the stock is going up, but how much of my trading range am I forfeiting to glean that knowledge? Not much. Look at this now. So don't forget your daily chart. Remember, it was like 38.40. Okay, it looked like a long ways. It was up here. You're buying some up this high. Are you giving up very much of your trading range to know that support is forming? So a super aggressive buy would be the first resistance point. What would be a more conservative one? And how do we tell that? Let's go up here. Date range and ATR. Okay, let's pop this up. Oh, I forgot to turn that off. Hold on, let me get it turned off. Okay. If we look at this, every 14 days, you guys can't, Kevin, can you read that? You probably can't read that. Let me turn it to yellow. Okay, watch. I'm going to pull this indicator on so you can just read it a little bit yellow. Okay. Can everybody see that yellow up here? Right up here at the 14, the 3.9, and the 1.90, 1.09. Okay. This stock moves $1.09 per day. It closed at 38.33, and I need to go back and look at my 5-minute chart. It might have been 80. Okay. Oh, it was 38.60, so I'm a little bit low. So 30 cents higher. I'm going to be buying it 30 cents higher than it closed at, probably right up into here, not quite the high of the day. Is that very significant compared to how far the stock moves per day? Stock moves $1 a day. I'm forfeiting 33 cents of my daily movement, or 1/3 of my daily movement to know support is support. But out of my trading range, out of my $4 trading range, less than 10%. I'm giving up less than 10% to know that it's starting to develop into an uptrend. That seems like a reasonable cost, 90% for me and 10% for the guy I had to give it up to. Okay, so what I did is I just gauged, it's called distance to entry. We took an actual stock, we set up a distance to entry, and we said that distance to entry seems doable. That I would try to buy it at the second pivot. Now, if we take our axiom that a trend is developing when resistance fails, if 2 5-minute pivots fail, is that a pretty good indication that a trend is developing? I mean, do you guys feel like that's a pretty good indication? No comment? Is anybody lost? Let's stop for a second. Let me take some questions. I need to know if some people are lost because it went really quiet. Maybe the screen's not scrolling again. Yeah, okay. So let me answer some questions because it got really quiet for a second. And let me recap the I'm going to summarize, and I want to cap the questions around the summary. Okay? The summary is this. We have 4 core patterns: a bull pullback, bear pullback, breakdown, breakout. We rank our bull pullbacks. Our breakouts, we want high external well-restraint stocks, so we use something like the IBD list. You are familiar with those patterns. When we go to trade them, especially like I'll articulate this using ScanDisk, if there was news event at the market, I personally would want to see what the last 4 or 5 minute pivots were doing. They better be lined up straight up for me to think about buying it. So the last 4 pivots determine direction. The first hint of a changing trend occurs on the lower time frames. So if I'm looking for a changing trend tomorrow, I look at the last 4 pivots. Because when I put my trade in the night before, I hate, absolutely detest, and get angry when it goes against me right away. And the way to prevent the right away going against me is I look at how they line up. Because if they're lined up completely to the downside, why do I want to try that? And the more pivots I take out, the more assured the trend is, but then also the less potential profit I have. I forfeit potential profit. Okay, around that summary and what we covered, throw some questions out here. No questions? Ready for a new topic already? Who currently, okay, just a second. Wow, Vivian, yours is right up at the top. I don't know how come. Yeah, we could talk about entry again. I could talk about it this week. I'm not done. I still got a while to talk. Oh, how come you're appearing on 2 places? Yes, yes, the seminars are different. They build on each other. They're building blocks for each other. Okay? Each one builds on it. The first day we talked about trade identification and some triggers. Today we've worked more on trade identification. By next week, I want to start working on some targets. Or not targets, but trade management skills. Next week, I'm going to teach you a little bit of trade management, and then we're going to go on to instruments, because sometimes the scans that I'm scanning, the stocks are really expensive, so we'll use different instruments. Okay? We'll use a lot of different instruments. Okay, Debbie was asking a question, but you erased it. I didn't get a chance to read it. So yes, they do build on it. Is anybody confused? Who didn't come to the first one that came to this one? Yeah, I do. I do teach a course. It's called Advanced Technical Analysis. I teach a course that people pay to go to. I'm doing this for Brett. Where I get my income from in life is I teach some people how to trade on the side. I manage a hedge fund. I trade foreign currencies. I develop models for different companies. I trade, a lot of different things I trade. If I could short sell my mom, I'd probably trade her. I would trade anything. So I have multiple sources of income, which I think everybody should have. Yeah, if you're new to trading and you've never heard about some of that stuff, I definitely teach some courses on technical analysis. It's called an Advanced Technical Analysis course. And Kelly can, you have to just talk to Kelly Clements, okay? It's 801-270-3144, okay? 801-27, why did that come up? 801, Kevin will write it down, 801-270-3144. That's Kelly's number. Okay, James, am I going over your head, you're blown away, or am I just zooming over your head, or kind of express to me, this is a really hard forum. It's much easier in person. I can look you square in the white of your eyes and see if you're comprende. And I feel like I can't tell if there's no comprende here. Okay. So in a good way or a bad way, James? I mean, are you feeling like you're totally lost? Are you feeling like it's good information? Do you see the value in using 5-minute charts? How people trade for a living or what they're looking at? Wait until you see next week, James. I've got some techniques that'll just absolutely floor you. I can make it, I'll give you a hint of what we're going to cover next week. I can make it literally so that if a stock goes against me, I can sell an instrument and recover all my losses and still make a profit. And I can recover my losses that instant where the money comes into my account. Okay? Well, I don't like 1-minute entries. There's a reason for that. But James, I need to know, are you feeling that it's good information? Just kind of express it a little bit more. I wouldn't trade it for a profit target on a Vivian on that. I would trade it for a setup or for a trigger. I trade it on a trigger, but I wouldn't trade it for a profit target. Okay. Totally lost, and it's good information. Okay. Seems like it's a good thing that Metastock is performing here for you. Hey, no one cares if you come to every class between here and June. I could care less. James, come to every one of them, and I come through things pretty quick. Okay. About aftermarket data. Go ahead, Krista. US, back at NDK. Okay. Krista. Yeah, who is HP user? Give me your name. How did you know that? USD, they said US. US, correct. Scott, what's your last, or you don't have to give your last name, just type to me privately. I'm just wondering if I know you. Do I know you? I'm not sure who it is, yeah, but yeah, I plan on it. I'll talk about it the very last week. We didn't have to publish your name. I'm just wondering if I knew you. Because some of the people in here I know pretty well, like Vivian. I know Vivian pretty well. She's a nice lady. That's why I'm picking on her a lot. Are you still trying to? Yeah, I'll speak on a Forex system on the last one. I have a Forex system where verified broker results out of 66 trades, I took 6 losers. Okay? And some of the stuff, I'm not a millionaire. One of the problems in my own trading isn't understanding trading anymore. It's all in the cabeza. My head sometimes just needs to be examined. Actually, there's a couple things I'll talk about. The psychology of trading, it's a big part of it. But going back to this, geez, we ran up here the last 15 minutes. I need to know kind of if the information that I've covered is coming through to you. We've basically taken one concept tonight, the position of the last 4 pivots, and reviewed old concepts. Okay? No questions along that? Okay. Well, James, there's 3 courses, this one that I'm giving. This is just, like I said, beer money for Metastock, but I do courses where they're 3-day courses where people sit down and we spend 3 days just on Metastock. And Kelly can set all of that up, okay? And I try to stay purposely out of the monetary side of that, meaning that Kelly will set it up and tell you the cost of it and how it works, and when the courses are. They're offered several times a year, and we work on just the building blocks of trading, okay? So you can come to these free ones, get some background, and I can show you more stuff. The really good stuff is coming next week. I missed K-Walk, or I'm not sure how to say your name. I missed it. You erased what you're putting up. How do I scan for stocks with large trading range? Here, I'll give you the scan right now. Okay, I guess you guys don't need to be serenaded here. Hold on. Just got to make some modifications. I'll write it right here on the screen. Oh, okay, that's not all of it. Just a second. That's part of it. Range colon equals HP minus LP colon, or ABS, sorry, ABS. HP minus LP. Okay, and then you say range greater than 3. If you want a $3 range, range greater than 10 if you want a $10 range. That's how you do it. I don't know if that makes any sense to any of you. How much do you think it would cost you to become confident long trading? In money that you lost to the market, or somebody you paid to a little short guy like me? Look, I'm not here to solicit business from you guys. That's not what I intended to do. Really, the goals of this class were to show you how to trade successfully. Metastock has a strong feeling that if you can trade successfully, then you'll keep their product. And then they're happy. But what I use in their product is real-time and power pivots. Okay? So the goal of this class was to show you how to use real-time and power pivot. That's what they asked me to do. Not solicit a thing for me, but I can. How much would it cost to become competent? To me, it costs time. The classes that I'm teaching, I don't know what the final cost was, but I think it's around $3,000 to come to a 3-day class, okay, in Salt Lake. You put up $3,000, you come to a 3-day class, and I fully intend to continue offering some of these seminars to Metastock people, just to help them and understand it, okay? Really, my goal as a trader is to make money for myself, and at the same time kind of bring other people up. Hopefully that makes sense. Okay. Does anybody have another question? What I'm doing, I mean, Kevin's going to take over here for a second. I'm going to turn off my mic. I mean, he can tell you how to order up a class if that's what you're interested in. So some of you have never done that. So I'll let Kevin chat with you for a second, and then I'll answer some questions here. Okay? Kevin must not have a mic. You get that AMT code. Those I'm giving out for free. Just totally giving them to people to use. There is some things that I'm working on that I have a Forex system where I have several of them, but one of the Forex systems, I have to update it every single week. It actually, I can backtest off of news events in this system, and I pull it up, it displays the news event on the chart. It tells me which Forex thing that I should trade above. It's got a bunch of stuff. Yeah. So that one, the point of that one was, it may be hosted by Metastock, and there may be like a teeny-weeny fee on that. That's only because it has to be changed every week. But everything else is free for you guys. Okay. Look, it sounds like you guys understood what we covered. You have a desire for more education. This is what I'm getting out of this conversation, since it's kind of lopsided here. You have a desire for more education, which Kelly will set you up with. And he'll be more than happy to take your money. and set it up again. One thing about trading's not taught in schools. It took me 12 years to get all this stuff down in my head. And I was blessed. I got to travel around the country with e-signal. I got to travel around the country with advanced GAT. I got to travel around the country with Metastock and meet a lot of traders, go to a lot of seminars. So what I'm showing you is a culmination of 12 years of knowledge. If you went in and you didn't understand pivots and you tried to trade or you couldn't quantify your risk, just give me your money. Just give it to me. I also manage a hedge fund. I mean, I don't mean to put it in a hedge fund, but just give it to me because you'll lose it. You'll get beat up. You need some stuff. AMT stands for Advanced Technical Analysis, is what I was putting in there. Okay? Yeah, you could talk to someone right now about setting all that stuff up. Okay, Bonnie, it's a system that of indicators that I use. There's a whole bunch of them. I labeled some inside the notes. I'm going to give the notes to the marketing guy to go through and make sure that it's all spelled right and it looks aesthetically pleasing. I'll post it on the website. Okay, any questions? Fire away. No more questions for tonight? Because it's at a natural breaking point for me. We're going to cover trade management next week. And I need to know something before next week. Who has zero experience with options? Zero. Okay? Because I'm going to make you do something before next week. You have to do something for me. Okay? If you have zero experience. Okay? Who's going to? I'll upload the notes into this room too. Go to www.cboe.com and then go to Learning Center. Learning Center, Options Basics. Okay? It'll really help you next week. A ton. Okay? CBOE, Learning Center, Options Basics. Now I'm going to try to do something real quick. Okay, while I'm doing this, I want any criticism. I've got a really thick skin. What's going to help you better? That's what I want, something constructive. What's going to make it easier for you to learn and make it productive for our time spent together? Because I'm just showing you exactly what I'm doing. Okay, click save on that link that should be there. Should be a link. Where did that come in? There. That's the notes. If you guys can get that up there, you can click that link. It's going to get them off my stuff. Go over and summarize. Okay. To summarize, what we've done is we worked on kind of four things in our trades. We started saying we need to find stocks. We're going to trade stocks. We have to have the right amount of volatility to make me money. No volatility, no money, no love, no house, no home. Okay? So we finally start with the right amount of volatility. It's got to be in one of four core patterns. Bull pullback, bear pullback, breakdown, breakout. Once it's in those, it needs certain aspects to each one. We rank the bull pullbacks on a scale of 1 to 9, and we also have to have resistance expanding and support contracting. On a breakout, we have to have high external relative strength. We trade off stocks that are outperforming the market. We take it one penny over, but on the intraday chart, the last four pivots better be pointing up or we're not doing it. And they will be when we get traded in anyways because they have to be going that way. But if they're lined up downhill, we're not going to take the breakout. Couldn't see scan this, so we couldn't take the breakout. That's a blank screen. Hold on. No blank screen now. Okay. It was a blank screen while I just put up those documents. You guys can try to download it. That's a summary of what we've covered in a nutshell. I put 5 or 6 indicators on there for you to go through and look at. Gave you a whole plethora of articles to read for your edification and enlightenment. So, hopefully, we can get you to a point where you'll use Metastock. You have several reasons why you use intraday data. Power pivots is something we use to scan with. Well, is that a quick summary? I didn't even take a breath. Okay. Those notes, I'm going to send them to Kevin, but I'm going to make them looked over. Okay. Do you use this system on Forex Phoenix archives? Cash Investor, I gave a lecture for the Forex Phoenix group for Charlesworth. He asked me to, and then I don't remember it being archived. But it may have been. I don't know. No idea. Okay. Any other questions? Because it's Miller time, guys. Ask the questions before I go find some Johnny Walker and have a nice long talk with you. Lots to think about and absorb. That's right. Well, Nicole, I hope that I said that right. Hey, we're going to review it. Go to the one that starts Tuesday in a week, and we'll get the first one. I do it again. Okay. You would need. They also archived it. It's a building block. It's really hard if you bounce out of it, but you can come to 2 or 3. I mean, the object is to help you learn how to trade so you keep their product. Okay? No, I said, I don't know if it's archived. You asked me if it was. Oh, you mean on Metastock? Oh, I have no idea. No clue. Kevin would know, but I don't think he has a mic hooked up, so he can't talk to you. Brian G, I didn't see your comment. You erased it. Give Kelly a call. What's my email? Oh, I don't care if y'all have it. It's real easy to remember. You'll never forget it when I tell you. jcrystal@bntrader.com. Okay, BN Trader stands for Bare Naked Trader because I sell naked calls and naked puts. jcrystal@bntrader.com. Okay? Now, if you email me, I get so many spam emails, you better just hound me if you're going to email me. Okay, who's going to call Kelly tonight? So, is anybody going to give him the ball? I don't want to make Kevin stay there all night. Give him a buzz. Yeah, Kevin, try to download those notes and give them to somebody that can spell check it. You know how well I spell. Yeah, just have somebody spell check it. Put a big disclaimer on it that says there's risk in trading. Okay, well, any problems, you guys can email me. Thanks.